Welcome to 5 Good Minutes.
You're listening to today's inspirational message
On the book of Romans with Brady Randall.
Today we are concluding this week by looking at verses 14 to 16 of Romans 2. And here's what we read. Indeed, when Gentiles who do not have the law do by nature things required by the law, they are a law for themselves, even though they do not have the law. They showed that the requirements of the law are written on their hearts, their consciences also bearing witness, and their thoughts sometimes accusing them, and at other times even defending them. This will take place on the day when God judges people's secrets through Jesus Christ, as my gospel declares. Paul has been talking about the differences in how the Jewish people and the Gentiles will be judged. And the Jewish people seem like they have an advantage because they have the law. But Paul says they will be judged with even greater strictness because to whom much is given, much is required. They should have known better. They had the law. But this doesn't leave the Gentiles off the hook. The Gentiles, even though they don't have the law, they show that the requirements of the law is written on their hearts. In other words, even though they don't have the written law like the Ten Commandments, God has essentially written His law on their hearts, on the human hearts, so that their own consciences testify against them. So they are hypocrites even to their own standards. And God says all of this will take place on the day when God judges people's secrets through Christ, as His gospel declares. And what this means today for you and I is that there really are no such thing as secrets. Have you ever been around two people who are whispering something to one another? It is really annoying because if you've got something to say it. Or if you have something private to say, why don't you wait till I'm not around so I don't have to hear it or see you whispering? At least that's my thoughts. But secrets are shared with other people because they're private. They're not for public consumption. I mean, think about your own secrets, that things that you've said, things that you've done, things that you've thought that no one else was ever going to see. Maybe some of those secrets you thought you were going to go to the grave with. But here's the truth that we read today, that in God's eyes, there really is no such thing as a secret. For Jesus said in Luke chapter 2 that there is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed or hidden that will be made known. What you've said in the dark will actually be heard in the daylight, and what you've whispered in the ear in the inner rooms will be proclaimed from the rooftops. So good or bad, everything will be made known. Now, that may seem frightening to you, but I actually find it encouraging, and here's why. Have you ever gotten caught from something that you did or you'd hidden for a long time and it comes to light, and initially it's extremely embarrassing and maybe humiliating? Maybe it's been something that gnawed at you, something that has happened to you that you were just humiliated by. But when it finally came out into the light, as painful as it may have been, a healing process could begin because the secret was over. And I believe that that's the way it is with Jesus. In fact, that's what Jesus offers. And I think that's what we hear today at the end of Romans chapter 2, verses 16 and 17. Because with God, there are no such things as secrets. In fact, you never actually get away with anything. Jesus sees it all. Jesus knows it all. Jesus discloses and will disclose, and Jesus judges it. But if you place your trust in Jesus, then what you reveal, in other words, the sin that Jesus already knows about, Jesus Himself will conceal it, meaning He takes it and He buries it under the sea. It has been paid for in full by His death on the cross. So it cannot get at you again. And now there may be consequences to those secrets and sin in this life. But as far as it relates to your standing before God, He's buried it in the sea as far as the east is from the west. So it's better to get it out in the open now, nailed to the cross, than have to answer for it later. Friends, what a wonderful friend and Savior that we have in Jesus Christ.
Thanks for joining us here today. There's a lot of great content to explore on Orchard Hill Plus and on the Orchard Hill main feed from the weekend. Have a great day.